Good evening and welcome to the Millbrae City Council meeting of June 27th, 2017. Can we have a roll call, please?
Four members of the council are present. Councilmember Lee is excused.
Okay. Can we have a pledge? Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first item on our agenda, we have a presentation of the Emergency Operations Plan. And we have with us Bill Riley, the retired fire chief of San Mateo, Burlingame, and now working with us from the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office on emergency preparedness.
Right, working as Emergency Services Coordinator for Millbrae. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Just to update you on where we're at this point, it mentions the Emergency Operations Plan is one of the points I'd like to cover tonight, which I've rewritten the existing adopted plan for the city of Millbrae from 2008. It's a little stale. It doesn't match the county plan, so we're in revision now, so it will be complementary to the county plan. In this view, the old operations plan was a multi-bindered 500 to 600 page document that not too many people read through, let's put it that way. The new basic plan, the emergency operations plan, is about 30 pages. It's down and dirty. It really describes what the functions are in it and what the basic elements are, lines of succession and so forth. But along with that, we adopt, with the plan, we have annexes and appendixes that take care of the fundamental parts of it that we need to follow. For instance, in the operations, in emergency operations in the EOC, individuals will need checklists and so on. We provide those in the annexes and appendixes. We also have very functional ones as what to do in earthquakes as compared to floods and so on. So it's very defined when we get down in that area of it. But the plan, basic plan itself, is the one that will be coming to you. I have first draft out, given it to the city manager and other department heads for review to make sure we have everything covered that we need to in it. But then as we go through it, the dynamic parts of it will be changeable. Some of the things go down as in depth as even like our resource availability and so on throughout the county, mutual aid plans and so on that change from time to time. In addition to that, we've been training quite a bit since the last 6 months or so. We've gotten all city employees through their basic elements of NIMS and SEMS training. We've taken some of the public works managers and supervisors to a higher level of ICS 200. It's intermediate ICS, and that's very similar to what police and fire managers use in the field. And we want them, again, to be able to work together, speak the same language, and understand, the way the system works. And the way we work through that in the management system is reflective of how we operate in the Emergency Operations Center. We use the same terms and so on, back and forth. And I think you might recall when I came to council a few months ago, we did an orientation, and that kind of described how our management system works during the emergencies and disasters. So with that, we've done that. Most recently, 8 of our managers and supervisors attended an essential emergency management course in Redwood City, along with many other public employees throughout the county. And in that, it covers really how to operate in disasters and emergencies. They came through that as a 4-day course and came out of it with about 3 certificates, various elements in emergency operations.
And Chief, I want to clarify, this came up at the meeting at 6 o'clock,
sure.
And I misinformed the council that it was 6 employees, but it was 8 that actually did this higher level training.
Right.
Thank you.
And one of the recommendations I'll be making to the city manager is that we continue to do things like that on a regular basis to keep our managers and supervisors at that level, especially as you transition retirements and replacements and so on. So that, is an ongoing thing. And that's kind of integrated into something else I presented and city manager accepted is a training and exercise plan. And it's a 3-year plan that cycles. And every year we update that and extend out another year. So look forward to what the training needs are. And we assess that by the exercises we have during the year to find out where our strengths and weaknesses are. And that keeps us current. It keeps our people up. And it takes time to do that. We've also been involved in some exercises, most recently the Silver Guardian exercise and our CERT and MERS people did a great job. I don't know if you had a chance. I think some of you were there. Silver Dragon, yeah. I'm sorry what I said. But they did a great job. 1,500 households were contacted in just a few hours. And that's very good. And they were using actually through the mosquito abatement district. They came in and brought some laptop or iPads. And they were tracking some of their the information they needed. Along with that, they had different things that they were confronted with, and it's part of an exercise. It's someone that was injured and what they would do and how would they report that back and so on. Very good exercise. I can tell you from looking throughout the county, I think we're extremely fortunate to have people like that under Dino DiBerneri's leadership, certainly. They do some wonderful work, and I know some of you are very much involved in that. But that is very commendable for a city this size to have that kind of response. Currently working on an update of our hazard mitigation plan. We have to do it annually. It is due September 1st, and I've been working with Key Lim to update it, and we're almost right there. I think we're going to have that way in on time, which will be good. Finally, the thing I'd like to discuss a little bit is the Emergency Operations Center itself, the Chakotay room. And when I first did the evaluation on it, not much worked in there. It's a nice room, but it wasn't functioning. We invested some money in it. We had recabled the entire thing with fiber, bring it up to today's standards. Along with that, I was able to secure some computers and printer and stuff that'll be up to date and be able to use in there during emergency operations, as well as new telephones. And we have some AV equipment. We have a 75-inch TV that was mounted just yesterday. And we have 2 more 65s that will be mounted in the next few days. But on Friday, Stepford will be completing all of the networking that's necessary to make everything come together. And after they check all our computers, make sure we're virus-free and have the right software, we'll be ready to go. So it looks like sometime next week we'll be fully operational. It's been a challenge getting into that. There was a lot more to do there than we first realized, but I think now we're looking at the end of the road. So I think we're going to be in really good shape, and I'm looking in months to come when we can do our training in that room, and I have our people work in the Emergency Operations Center that they will be functioning. They'll be able to train and work in the same place. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Nice work.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Riley. Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes, thank you, and very exciting. Is there any chance somewhere in the future of having an open house with the new Emergency Operations Center?
Oh, I'm sure that would not be a problem. In fact, one of the things, and I discussed with the city manager as we designed what we're doing here, it will not only function well for Emergency Operations Center, but also function for governmental meetings, civic groups, and so on. There's a lot there that could be used, beyond just the Emergency Operations Center part of it.
And we're using it for the Airport Noise Roundtable, and it's really great to have that addition for that. So it's really becoming a great center. So good job.
I think you'll be pleased with what we've got.
This next question is going to sound really odd. I know that the hazard mitigation plan is generally for natural disasters, but can it look at mental health problems?
Well,
and you can tell me I'm way off base. I'm just grasping at straws here, trying to figure out how we can get our hands around this problem.
The concept of a hazard mitigation plan is to prevent some of the hazards from happening, certainly. And that's why, and you're absolutely right, it has to do with natural things that we can control. And mental health issues have not been addressed in it, and that's one of the things that have not been studied in that format. I'm certainly there's many other places that look at it, separately. But as far as the format of what we do there and how it is structured, no, we do not address.
Okay. And then third question, the cooling centers. We are lucky that we are blessed with very moderate temperatures here during that heat wave, but it got pretty hot, and we have a lot of seniors. So I know you and I had some emails, and I appreciate that. Thank you. But is that going to be in the hazard mitigation plan? Because I don't remember reading about cooling centers and a quick program of installing them should we need them, and how to get seniors who might be housebound, no car, out of their unair-conditioned houses if we have another 100-degree period.
Yeah, one of the hazards we look at is, like I mentioned, there's earthquake and drought and everything, and heat is one of them too. And there's an annex that will cover that. Not all the annexes are done, certainly. But we look at those and many of the things, especially in cooling centers, much like we look at evacuation centers and, to relocate people, we have to find acceptable places to do it, and they're agreeable, and we have to make agreements and so on. So that goes onward as we do these annexes that are more dynamic.
Okay, well, since we just went through this, we'll see that in September then? When it comes, I'm going to imagine it's going to come to the Emergency Operations Council?
You're going to
updates
see
come?
the results of it because I think September 1st it's due. Our
next meeting is in
And
September.
you're going to hear about it in that because I think Bart Spencer is going to be collecting all that information, and you'll see the results of that countywide.
Very good, thank you.
Vice Mayor Peppin?
Well, don't go anywhere. Nice to see you, Mr. Riley. So, just to clarify for the public, if there is a natural disaster or a big disaster, the Jacudi Center will be...
Is our primary emergency operations center.
And everything will operate out of the Jacudi Center?
Yeah, the support, the Emergency Operations Center is a support mechanism for everything that's happening in the field. All right, that's what one of the things I explained to the people I train in ICS, the Incident Command System, and so on, the people working out in the field, that when we open the Emergency Operations Center, it should take the monkey off their back about worrying about a lot of things. We are their support, and we have to have good communications in, find out what they need, provide the things they need, look more long-term in planning, and so on. So that's the crux to what an EOC does. It's also called a multi-agency coordination point because we take care of all disciplines, police, fire, public works, whatever it is. We're going to support them all. So with that, we have to have one place, and right now the Jacudi room is. I know we've had some discussions with the city manager when we redo the rec center. It's possible we could look at that too as well, because having one place, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. In the same respect, in natural disasters, you want to have a couple options in there, as well as other cities or whatever we might take. Because you have to work cooperatively many times in large disasters.
Well, what's nice about the Jacudi room is that it is above ground. I know San Bruno's is down in the basement, and the county seat is also way down in the jury room.
No more.
No more. Well, they
We're
moved
on
it.
the tent now.
Oh, all right. Tent's
The new
good.
one will be above ground.
Okay. What I might suggest, and if this is appropriate, that we do label it as such, so that you don't have to label it when an emergency does happen.
Oh, the things we look at in Emergency Operations Center is. I want to say isolation. We want to be able to put people in a place where they can work, function well, and we have to have security because you can imagine to be inundated with press and people that want things, and it's hard to function in that. So we have to have some security there as well as delineate where we want people to go for whatever they need. So we do that. So that's part of the security issue. We talked about the rec center. If we redo that, I mean, that's a great opportunity, and it also works well in getting funding. To reconstruct things. So.
I encourage you to go on the website and give your 2 cents as to what you would like in the recreation center. We are taking input now. As was mentioned, as far as cooling centers go, actually posting something online or doing a pamphlet would be very helpful to seniors as to how to keep, close your drapes, keep your just internal tips would be very helpful to some people. And if there's something out there, these days things are heating up a lot. And
there is information available, and I'll see that it gets out. As Councilman Schneider said, we're fortunate that we don't see a lot of it, but certainly it does come around, and we do get notifications where the cooling centers usually are. County OES does a very good job of identifying those needs and stuff. So. But when we get the locations, and usually it's in the south end, it's not in the north end, but we have to look to that. And I did a little bit of polling around what we have available here, what we're using now, and even like our facilities, we've lost, with the rec center gone, some of the capability of doing it ourselves. So we have to look to private partners to help us facilitate that.
And I think the library would be a primary.
Yeah, private library would, but
I think they're pretty.
We get limited to what we could do, how many can we get where, but coordinating that, and if it, what is most convenient and so on. But we can look at that, and like I even noticed that the Magnolias is used from some of the senior program now because we don't have that. Right. So again, I look at what we can provide plus private partners.
And you always have your council chambers to draw from too. And I want to point out that when this issue was raised earlier since your last council meeting, so earlier last week, we would like to get the word out that there is a process. We work with our partners at the county, with County OES. When the temperatures do raise to a certain level, the county monitors, and they will put in place the plans that have been laid out through County OES. That involves them contacting us at the city manager, police chief, and city clerk or public information officer level, at which point we then push out information. So until we hit that threshold that's triggered by the county, we're in communication, but we're not putting information out till they tell us that we've hit that point in that process. We are limited and restricted in available space since our unfortunate July 21st incident, but we do still have resources. And as Mr. Riley has indicated in working with the staff and the community, we have internally identified some of those available resources. And we, again, reminding the community, our partners from across the border, San Bruno and Burlingame, have been very generous in working with us. So there are some resources still in play. Thank you.
Okay. And Councilman Schneider, you had one final comment?
I would only add, I should have said, and small children, both small children and seniors more susceptible to heat exhaustion, heat-related injuries. So if there's grandmothers or grandfathers at home with small children and they also don't drive, I just want to make sure that we see something for that when the update comes through. Thank you.
And thank you for mentioning the community center. I was going to ask about that. We are planning for that to be a modern, updated, connected facility. So it would be good to have that kind of redundancy. Maybe not necessarily everything that's in the Charcuterie Room EOC, but to have a facility there that meets the needs of the city that can serve a purpose during an emergency situation. Yeah. So I'd hope that you're in contact with the project manager for that, and as well as the architects who are working on that over the next several months.
We also look at the community centers. The recreation center stuff is a great place for an evacuation center because it's set up and the people know how to manage moving people. The rec people do a really good job at it. So.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Chief Riley, and we love the new screens in the Charcuterie Room, and look forward to the rest of those upgrades in the coming days and weeks and months.
Nice work.
Okay. Next on our agenda, we have a proclamation proclaiming the month of July 2017 as National Parks and Recreation Month, and we have with us the chair of the Parks and Recreation Commission, Chris Del Negro. If you can please join me at the podium. Okay. Whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of communities, and whereas our parks and recreation are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and region, and whereas parks and recreation programs build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation services for those who are mentally or physically disabled, and also improve the mental and emotional health of all citizens. And whereas parks and recreation programs increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas parks and recreation areas are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community. And whereas parks and natural recreation areas improve water quality, protect groundwater, prevent flooding, improve the quality of the air we breathe, provide vegetative buffers to developments, and produce habitat for wildlife. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And whereas the theme for this year's Parks and Recreation is Get Your Play On. Now, therefore, we, the members of the Millbrae City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of July 2017 as Parks and Recreation Month. And we encourage all Millbrae residents to enjoy one of the city's beautiful parks. So thank you, Chris, for your service to the Parks and Rec Commission and your contributions to our Parks and Recreation services here in Millbrae. And thank you for accepting the proclamation.
Thank you.
On behalf of the Commission.
You want to update us?
Want to just stay?
Fine.
Is that acceptable, Mr. Mayor?
I'll wait.
Yeah, going slightly out of order here, but let's go with the update since Chris is here. Update report from the Parks and Recreation Commission.
Okay, well, it's been quite a year. In the old rec center, on the night of Tuesday the 19th, 9 p.m., I became chair of the Millbrae Parks and Rec Commission. We discussed the prioritization of the commission for the oncoming year of projects that we're going to work on. This included both programs, infrastructure improvements, and goals to meet the existing demands of the diverse community of active Millbrae. Around 30 hours later, as you all know, our facility burnt to the ground, or burnt beyond salvage, a tremendous loss for our community, and a demanding task lay ahead to rebuild. First and foremost, we should be thankful to our community that came together, for staff that performed, a tremendous outreach to find as many solutions as possible for events, children's programs, senior lunches, and recreation programs. We're thankful to our staff. We're also thankful for the school district that morning who moved to open their facilities for our programs that were ongoing at the time. My kids actually went across the street to the school and actually participated that morning in a program, and they had a lot of fun, even in lieu of what was going on. So we'd like to thank the school district leadership for their unwavering support and help. We also are thankful to local private companies, including the Magnolia, the Green Hills Golf Course, who have provided assistance with facilities as well. Our neighbor cities came to our aid to offer facilities assistance for our programs. We're thankful for their broader support and the broader community of San Mateo County. Our regional government sought funds to help us acquire temporary recreation facilities and made fit so we can have space available for our facilities in the interim. So we're thankful to Representative David Pine and to the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors for their additional support in helping us with those funds. We are thankful to the community of Millbrae and the regional community that Millbrae is part of in lieu of the event. We still, this year, in lieu of the tragedy, needed to work on ongoing park and recreation master planning, the ongoing pedestrian bicycle PDA planning, and the components that involved our bike and safety. We also contributed to the Recreation Standards Assessment for the setting of development impact fees. Planning has been a major component to this last year's commission's functions, and we've contributed to all of these different plannings very effectively this year. With the fire, our commission's year's strategy had to be obviously adjusted, and the community center rebuild became a major priority. Obviously, in the meantime, we have gaps to fill for the needs of the community in the interim. So a major priority was to plan the provision of temporary solution and rebuild as soon as possible. Currently, we have an effort put forth. We've already gone towards purchasing new temporary equipment, temporary space to be located here on the center area of Millbrae in Constitution Square area. As we plan ahead, we have two major forces at hand in the planning. One is the speed to get the overall project going and completed. Obviously, the city and the residents are very excited about getting this facility up and going so we can use it. So speed is a priority for the public. Building the right facilities and the right population in the current and future era is also, of course, the other major pressure put on us to make sure that what we build is right for the city. Millbrae is about to grow with all the downtown development planning and Site 1 development planning. We anticipate growth for the first time in probably 3 generations, have a significant jump in growth. We want to make sure that we plan for that growth as well. So in that, we've had 3 phases planned, particularly with our Group 4 consulting firm. One is the outreach need, second is the options, and third is the recommendations. We are currently in the middle to end of the first phase of outreach need. We anticipate the options to be presented in September with the recommendations to follow, and we hope to have in front of you guys by the Q4 of this year a plan for the community center rebuild. That is our major number 1 priority for delivery this year. In addition to this, we still have other major focuses that have happened this year. We've voted as a commission to relocate the gazebo. We hope to put it into La Serena Park on the corner of Poplar and Library Way. We feel it would fit very nicely in that area. We've recommended to evaluate uncontrolled pedestrian crossings across El Camino Real as well. I know that the council obviously stands in support of that, and we've all moved forward with that. And we do, in lieu of planning all these things to come, we do implore the funding and savings for these park and rec facilities that we plan on building, in addition to finding as many funding sources as possible. Right now, we're moving as fast as possible to get as much grant funding opportunities filled that we can for our community. So, our additional plans and desires for the future. Our priorities of the Parks and Rec Commission are still obviously the community center, but in addition to that, we still have a desire and a need of the community to have more field space and a desire to revitalize Mills Estate Park. Those are big needs for our community. Community garden remains a priority project, a priority interest of ours, and we hope that it gets integrated into our coming plans for the site rebuild, if not at an alternative location. The spur trail development and a Safe Routes to Schools program is another one of our major priorities of our commission this year. So we'd like to see these three things not be dropped, but we will focus on the community center rebuild. I'm very grateful to our park staff, who has been working extremely hard under the last year's stresses of the drought, changed by the floods. They've done a very good job to mitigate all these changes in weather. And I hope to see with our return to growth, future opportunity for our park staff to grow in ability to serve any incoming new demands and help to be in a position to be more proactive, which is, of course, beneficial over being reactive to situations. They're doing a great job, and we're thankful for them. In addition, our rec staff, which did a tremendous job this year, I have to say, of overcoming such a difficult event for the community. That's the status of our Parks and Recs program.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Del Negro. You have any comments or questions from the council? Councilwoman Oliva?
Maybe a comment of thanks. So while you didn't sign up for this project, you've done an amazing job leading it. And I say thank you. I think from a lot of people that I've talked to just are very amazed how good you have taken the bull by the horns.
Thank you, Ann. I have also been re-elected to chair position for a second year in a row for continuity by the commission.
More than continuity.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Want to say thank you too, and thank you to the whole commission and to staff here. It's been quite a year, and to everybody, thank you so much for putting up with everything. I have one tiny comment.
Yes.
Trying to work with the high school district to open up a swimming pool. If not this summer, then by next summer. Can we try to fit that into the work plan too?
It is currently being discussed already within the planning of our site development. The school is part of our larger stakeholder group, and I do believe that we can continue to request. They are aware of our desire to have that. So yes, we can continue to apply that request and work with them.
Great. Thank you, and good luck.
Thank you.
Great. Vice Mayor Pepin?
Thank you, Chris. And I've seen how hard you guys are working. It's really a tribute to the entire city. So thank you so much. And just a spectacular idea on the location of the gazebo. That is going to be just beautiful. And I compliment you all for this idea. And we look forward to its new location and new setting. Should be lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Chris, and thank you to you and your fellow commissioners for the energy that you bring on all these different projects. I know there's a lot on your plate, and having the community center dropped on you may have taken some of the focus, but not entirely off of some of the other projects. I think we all would like to see some progress on maybe the spur trail being completed and extended, also some of the bike and pedestrian trails and the potential grant opportunities we actually just discussed in the previous meeting right before this. So thank you very much for your leadership on this, and look forward to having you as the chair again for another year.
Thank you.
Okay. While we were on item number 4, since we just had that report, I think maybe we can go ahead with the report from the Cultural Arts Commission. Again, slightly out of order. And I believe we have the chair, Robert Hughes, here from Cultural Arts Commission.
members, thank you for carving out the time to allow us
Can you get a little closer to the mic for us? Thank you.
to provide you this update from the Cultural Arts Advisory Committee.
I believe there's also a handheld if that would be more convenient. It's right in front of you there. Sometimes tall people find that.
That's a little too
Okay.
American Idol or whatever. Can't do that. So the update from the Cultural Arts Committee. My name again is Robert Hughes. I'm the chairperson for the committee. We've made a lot of progress, and some of that progress has been in small steps. Small steps being we are meeting and we are making progress. I think most people agree that if you're developing a committee or a team, the more you meet and the more you practice, the better you become. And so we're in that phase. Covering some of the 2017, 2018 specific goals, keep meeting and keep making progress. We're working to understand, and obviously we'll seek council endorsement with regards to where we can integrate and participate in. Okay, sorry about that. Where we can integrate and participate in all of the new development that's occurring in downtown Millbrae. Several plans that are in progress, along with the community center rebuild, where the Arts Committee may find "quote unquote" blank canvas to either incorporate local artists or, develop some type of musical venue to provide those types of services back to the community and enhance the community and promote the cultural arts that reflects the diversity of Millbrae. One of the kind of early wins that we have accomplished is that we brokered a partnership between the Millbrae Camera Club Photography and MCTV now, where MCTV is not publishing, maybe broadcasting winners of the photo contest during their breaks. And so not only are we providing exposure for the Millbrae Camera Club, we've developed some content for MCTV. Also looking at, I'm sorry, now away? Okay, all right. We're looking to identify additional partners to help promote cultural arts, such as local artists associations and committees and businesses. We're working to develop and define an art solicitation process where we're gaining input from the actual community around their ideas and specific locations where an art installation may work. And then we're also looking at developing and resurrecting the Millbrae Art Show, which for those members and community members that were around 4 years ago or so, we were essentially sponsoring a local art show with local artists, including high schools and even middle school students. So something we're looking to establish as well. Again, a lot of this is a work in progress, but we're gathering ideas and taking steps towards accomplishing some of these projects. And then we're looking at actually identifying 2 projects. One is a potential mural with a local business, and the possibility of some art on utility boxes. This is just a slide of some of the past work that's been sponsored by the Millbrae Art Commission, stone sculpture in City Hall, which I'm sure you're probably all familiar with, the Aphrodite statue that's now at El Rancho, and then recently, or the most recent real kind of legacy from this existing committee is the ratification of the Art in Public Places policy that was ratified by council back in 2013. Some of the existing art in Millbrae, one of 2 mosaics is now currently at Safeway on El Camino. some of the existing installments that were commissioned in the Millbrae Children's Library, some stained glass and one mural. And then through outreach, we're looking at gathering ideas for more contemporary art installations for the city of Millbrae through an understanding of what has been developed and incorporated in other communities. And so we've got a couple examples. This one is from Palo Alto of a mural that runs along a parking lot. And this is actually public art on utility boxes, which is quite an enhancement from sun-dried green. And so this is a shot from a community center in San Carlos, but some of the ideas we're kind of throwing around were sort of neighborhood branding art opportunities where you could have specific utility boxes that were for, Mills Estates or Meadow Glen or Glen Hills, and kind of bring that community together through art in those local utility boxes. And then we're also looking at multi-purpose functional art where you've got installations that not only serve a purpose but are a form of art themselves. We've got this sample up here where in Palo Alto they've got art-inspired chairs and tables, and then on the bottom left, those are actually bike racks that when the sun hits the rack, it casts a shadow of a flower on the ground. And so we're trying to come up with ideas of that nature that would help, enhance the attractiveness and reflect the diversity of Millbrae. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you for the presentation.
Sure.
Vice Mayor Peppin?
Thank you. Wonderful presentation. A couple things real quick. I do understand that the El Rancho is about to change hands, so would be very interested to see what happens to the Aphrodite statue and preserving that somewhere within the city of Millbrae.
Absolutely.
And if city staff can help on that, that
Yeah,
would be great.
yeah.
And you mentioned the 2013 policy where you're suggesting change. That was a very difficult policy to get established.
Yeah, and so we're obviously looking to align our activities and our projects to that policy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Greatly appreciate it.
And while a lot of our projects and ideas are still in early development, obviously endorsement from council is key to the successful implementation of whatever project or activity we map out.
Great. I have two suggestions for you, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
Talk to the mayor of San Francisco. They have a great deal of art they don't know what to do with. So I might suggest reaching out to them, maybe to get some artwork on loan or something from the crypts of wherever they have their artwork.
Stashed.
They evidently get quite a stash.
Palace of Fine Arts.
Well, that would be really nice. I'm not sure that's exactly what he was talking about, but it might be worth reaching out
Yeah,
to the
that makes
city of
sense.
San Francisco. Just enlightening things.
Doesn't hurt to
Necessarily
ask.
need to be perfect, right? My mom said, doesn't hurt to ask. And then what would be great is the partnering with either other cities or the U.S. Postal Service, because goodness knows our post boxes are looking really sad. And I know some cities have been able to enhance the mailboxes
Yeah.
around. That would be great.
Again, it's a matter of establishing and understanding the protocols that are in place and required by that entity, whether it's PG&E or the Postal Service.
That would be lovely. Thank you.
Yep.
Councilwoman Oliva?
I just want to say thank you. It's nice to see that this committee's alive. And I'm here to support whatever you bring forward.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Councilwoman Schneider?
What the committee has talked about, since I'm the liaison to the committee, is how to set aside a budget item when we're not sure when they're not sure what it might take. So, I mean, if there's a private art installation and they're willing to pay for it, that's one thing. But if, for example, the utility box project went through, would there be money? And let's just say, as an example, it goes to the schools in the neighborhood and the students do something, but there's still the cost of materials. How the Cultural Arts Committee can ask the council for some money so that they can actually spend some money on some things like art supplies.
Sure.
So they're in the middle of the research process right now to find out how San Carlos's utility box project got paid for. Redwood City's project is paid for by a business improvement district downtown that's paying for murals, lighting, the other mosaic projects like that. So we're just not quite there yet in terms of budget, but we're going to be talking about budget in July. So what would council recommend?
Mayor Peppin?
Well, as the policy, you can reach out to, again, the policy is very defined, that
Yes.
you're not just going to go do public art somewhere. The
Right,
public has
right.
to have an input in what this is. So if the committee has a proposal, for instance, the utility boxes and stuff, that would have to be submitted to the city council and taken from there. But on the funding aspect of it, with your proposal could come something like private sponsorship or, maybe the Silicon Valley Leadership Group has some sort of things out there. Right now, it's not within the budget, but we have to be very clear that.
And I don't know what council's sentiment is around a potential development fee, but if you look across other communities, San Francisco, Treasure Island, what have you, it's a pretty standard 1% fee that's associated for the improvement associated with cultural arts or arts in general for new development and new developers to come in and build.
I would look upon that favorably. I know certain cities like the city of San Mateo, if the development is above a certain amount, then that sort of fee would kick in. They have a new development right on El Camino at 3rd, and the developer decided you have a little man sitting on top looking at the clock on the other building across the way. And then that was encouraged but not necessarily required. So I do think the council would be open to definitely encouraging that sort of thing.
Encouragement would be good.
And I wouldn't be opposed to putting something on the books either.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm glad to see the commission alive and well. One suggestion, something that we used to do quite a while ago. It's probably been close to 20 years. Concert, almost. Concerts in the park. Something we used to, before the library was reconfigured, there was that grassy area in front of the Millbrae Museum, and there used to be concerts there. Maybe, as we just, Mr. Del Negro just mentioned, we're going to be moving the gazebo over to La Serena Plaza. That could be a great location for some type of, probably not too late for this summer, but maybe next summer or the spring, some type of concert series.
It's definitely on our radar.
Great.
Yeah.
Yes, Councilwoman Oliva?
Can we grow that idea a little bit in helping enhance our downtown, maybe concerts in the parking lot? And there are some parking lots.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Music. We want music.
Yeah, and I think we are discussing, not related to the ice rink, but upgrading the power voltage in this area for some of the community, both for the modular buildings, for the community center, and for some of the cultural festivals that we have that require generators to run. So that could be an opportunity as well. Right here in this
grand opening music festival sounds like a good idea.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Hughes, and we look forward to some of these projects coming up down the road.
Thank you.
Okay. Going back, we're now on to item number 2, the agenda overview and staff briefing. City Manager Raines.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before giving the agenda briefing, I'd like to give 7 very quick updates on items of interest, things that are going on in the community, starting with infrastructure projects. One of the council's strategic goals is to work on infrastructure, find methods of improving our infrastructure, and find develop financing plans for future infrastructure. Along those lines, the staff has made huge or significant progress in recent weeks, and I want to highlight first that contractors have begun street paving along Millbrae Avenue between El Camino and 101 in the past week or so, and the work is expected to be completed by mid or end of July. Council is expected to award a second paving project at one of the July meetings. The work will include repairing Park Boulevard, Ashton Avenue, Laurel, and Hazel. In addition, work on a new storm drain pipeline is expected to begin in the 800 block of Hillcrest sometime during July, installing approximately 1,000 feet of new storm drain pipe, which will include several storm drain inlets, and the project will minimize localized flooding in the area and is expected to be completed before the rainy season in the fall. I feel funny talking about that with some of our public works management in the back of the room, but I'm going to keep going because they've been doing a beautiful job. In regards to spur tree removal, city crews have started removing diseased eucalyptus trees along the spur trail. As we were starting the meeting this evening, I was updated regarding some of the findings that they have with the drought and then rain that we've experienced over the last several seasons. We've been finding trees there. As we identify them and start to take them out, we are indeed finding that they are diseased, and we're just ahead of what could have been some potential disasters had the staff, again, a really good job on staff, not identified a few of these trees, particularly along Millbrae Avenue in the vicinity of Elder and Lewis. Work is expected to take at least the next month to complete, but the trail in most parts will remain open. In addition, you've seen the PG&E removal of trees along Richmond Drive that has so irritated a number of people in the community, including the staff. We've reached out to PG&E and are working with them on some form of replacement restitution and working on options that we will bring back before the council for this terrible incident that's occurred in this community. In addition, we're headed into 4th of July. I want to start by saying fireworks are illegal in this town. Fireworks are a lot of fun and they're exciting to watch, but when improperly handled can be very serious and cause damage to not only homes but our residents, so be careful out there. Remember, if you see something that you think you need help with, you can always contact the Sheriff's Office and the Police Bureau at 363-4911, and we have posted this information on social media for our residents, just to reiterate. While I'm on public safety, the fire department last Saturday held their annual pancake breakfast fundraiser, and the firefighters are very pleased to report that they raised over $6,000 and had in the vicinity of 300 people attending. So thank you, Millbrae, for supporting your firefighting community once again. We have had the chief update on homeless services at the last council meeting. There is a memo that has been issued to my office and distributed to the council that will be posted tomorrow that identified methods that the Sheriff's Office uses to coordinate with different social services that are made available through the county, including PERT, Psychiatric Emergency Response Team, and BHRS, the Behavioral Health and Recovery Services. And we continue to pursue alternatives to make our community safe and make sure that we coordinate with services that are available to us in addressing some of these issues. You talked earlier about cooling centers. I just want to remind the community that as summer approaches and the temperatures continue to rise, we do have redundancy in services that are provided through, again, our contacts with the county. And if you have questions, we're going to post information. If it's not already on our website, we'll be there soon regarding how to proceed in an emergency. Number 7 I'd like to talk about is we have, again, as recent as today, been received information that we've earned the recognition as a 2016 Tree City USA from the Arbor Day Foundation, reminding us that this is just one piece of a community infrastructure that actually increases in value over time. So I found that quite interesting. We are very proud of our parks staff, as all of our public works staff, and we will be issuing this press release tomorrow that does come to us from the Arbor Day Foundation National Organization. Now with that, I'm going to go on with the council briefing on the agenda. First, we have a report of bills and claims since your last council meeting. Next, item 3 would be considering minutes of the January 10th and June 13th, 2017 items, and I'm going to pull the second of those two and ask that you consider this evening the January 10th meeting and allow us to bring back the June 13th. On the January 10th, we did have some noted typos, and we will make those corrections. You've done your oral reports from committees and commissions this evening. Those are very nice reports for the community and for the council. Following that, my report, you have public communications, followed by consent calendar. And on the consent calendar this evening, you have 3 items to consider. The first would be consideration of a motion authorizing execution of an agreement with Trepepe Smith and Communication Services for the city. This has been our providers over the last year plus. Staff is recommending council approve the agreement as attached to your agenda. Second is considering resolution establishing your appropriations limit. This is an annual activity, and this would be for the fiscal year 17-18. And the final item on the consent calendar this evening is considering a resolution that would authorize an agreement with West Yost for the Water Pollution Control Plan on-call engineering services for an amount not to exceed $250,000 for the fiscal year 17-18. You have no public hearings or no existing business on the calendar for this evening, but you have 2 items of new business. The first is to consider appointments to the City Selection Committee, and the second is to consider a resolution that would receive and approve green infrastructure work plan in accordance with the regional permit requirements. Following those items, you have council comments, and then we recommend that you adjourn for the evening. Any questions?
Any questions on the agenda? Vice Mayor Pappen?
I just have a comment on the PG&E actions of cutting down to the stump 4 mature trees on Richmond Drive. I'm exceptionally appalled at this. And in staff, when you come back to us, we're talking about bioswales tonight. We need to go for the gusto on this. This is just unheard of. So please, we're not just going to take 4 replacement trees. Those were part of our cooling system and everything. I encourage staff to please go for the jugular on that one.
Councilwoman Schneider? No?
I'll bring it up during the
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. So with that being said, sorry? Yeah.
No, when the minutes come up.
Okay. All right. So the next item is the approval of minutes. The city manager recommended pulling the minutes of June 13th, 2017. So that would leave us with the meeting of January 10th, 2017. And do you have a comment on that?
Ms. Raines, thank you for the comments. You said that there would be edits noted in the January 10th ones. Does that include the comments that I put in regarding one of the items on there, the email that I sent earlier today? Or do I need to state it publicly?
I believe it was the typos that had been indicated, not content change.
Okay. Then I need to read the content change. All right. It's item number 6. No, I'm quoted as saying something that I didn't say, and I wasn't quoted as saying what I did say. And I actually watched it on TV again today and sent the correct comments via email earlier today.
Okay, so this is for January 10th?
January 10th, item 6, under the city manager's increase.
As long as it's consistent with what was said.
It's exactly what was said on TV.
Okay.
In which case, I'm happy to approve the minutes.
Sorry, January 10th, what?
January 10th, item number 6, negotiate amendment to city manager contract. And as I said, I watched the MCTV tape today.
Okay.
And sent the comments in.
So,
Let me suggest then that we pull January 10th and bring the additional concerns back, unless you want to read them into the agenda this evening, what the changes are specifically, so that when you're voting, you know what you're voting on.
Yeah, I would suggest we just add, then bring it back.
okay. So we will, I guess, not move to approve minutes for either meeting and have those come back at the next meeting. Okay, we already did item number 4, so next on our agenda is public communication. This is the opportunity for members of the public to speak on any item that is not on this evening's agenda. Speaking time is limited to 3 minutes. You'll see green, yellow, and red light here. When the yellow light comes on, you'll have 30 seconds left, and then when the red light is on, your time has expired. So the first speaker tonight is Wynn Gersich.
Good evening. Tonight, I'm going to talk about quite a few things that cause cancer. And we know that Dr. Wynn Parker's chloramine causes collateral health damage. Proved that adding ammonia to the drinking water made the disinfectant cause secondary byproducts that are more carcinogenic. And nobody really concerned about that here in Millbrae. But your water is now almost as expensive as liquid gold. And the thing that's really amazing is that everybody would rather run for the cure of cancer instead of going after the cause. So a while ago, I came here and I was asking Millbrae to not use Roundup. And I don't know if you passed a ordinance not to use it. I got some other cities. But yesterday in naturalnews.com, it says California declares glyphosate weed killer Roundup to be a cancer-causing poison and will add to Proposition 65 warning list. So Monsanto tried to sue to stop this listing, but they said now, as of July 7th, retailers in California must add cancer warning labels to glyphosate products. Did you know that there's glyphosate in vaccines? Did you know that? I found that one out recently. Here's another one. Stop SB 649. Call your Congress and Senator and Assemblyman. This article that I read you last time, it says that the bill... bill would turn California utility poles into cell towers by Nita Beatty. Anyway, I called Senator Jerry Hill's office, and I spoke to the girl, and I was trying to tell her that we need to get this stopped, and if she could speak to Senator Jerry Hill. And, you know, they already passed it through the Senate, but the fact is, was he lobbied? Did he get any money from this? Because this man, Bill Devine, was the one that was lobbying all these senators and assemblymen to pass something that is very cancer-causing, because they're going to put these little cell phone towers on the utility poles in front of every house, 10 or 20 homes apart. And there's another part of this article when you see it says, do you have a utility pole in your backyard along your fence line? The utility, utility easement or through your property means that they can put anything on that pole. And underground utilities in your neighborhood, new poles will be erected or antennas mounted on homes. AT&T in the new service agreement says that you must agree to anything that they want to install in your home. And it says complain to the CPUC if you disagree. This is really important because they didn't want to take my information and look up this article when I called Senator Hill's office. So the people here in Millbrae have got to do this. This is the article. It says, bill would turn California utility poles into cell towers by Nita Beatty, and please stop SB 649. And right here it says, if you can look up on YouTube why these Romanian immigrant brothers voted for Trump, slide it to 5 minutes. There is a scientist from the California Tumor Registry talking about brain tumors and why we need to get the Mobile Now Act stopped. This will kill us all. This is worse than the stuff in the water.
The next speaker is David Groves.
Thank you, Rich. I can't. It's hard one to follow. I live in San Mateo, and I want to thank the. I live in San Mateo. My name is David Groves, and Mr. Milo, who was working with the Republic at Millbrae proposal for the Gateway at Millbrae proposal for the veterans housing. Which I support because I think it's I'm a veteran, and I was fortunate enough to work and live in the San Mateo, and I've had housing all my life because I inherited a house, so I know how hard it is for other veterans to maintain housing, and you have a difficult decision to make with who's going to get the. Well, in California, we have what was called the housing needs allocation, and they study areas where they're going to put affordable housing. And I want to applaud you for considering the veterans for this element, because every populated group is struggling now with housing, as we always know. Teachers, police, fire, no one can afford to live in the area. They all have to commute to come in. And I'm fortunate I'm able to live here and maintain my housing here because I inherited it. But a lot of veterans are not like me, so I see the difficulty. So I want to applaud the city of Millbrae for working with the Republic at Millbrae. It's the first time anybody has proposed the affordability element to disabled veterans, and this proposal will have supported housing for those veterans that are coming back that need support, and hopefully they'll qualify for the means, because I wouldn't qualify for it, but there are a lot of veterans that desperately, just like others groups, that are struggling to find housing in the Bay Area. So I want to applaud you guys, Mayor Holliber and Gina Pappen and Ann Schneider and Olivia for your work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Groves. Okay, the next speaker is Joe Teresi.
Good evening, Mayor Holliber and Council. I'm Joe Teresi. I live at 5 Bluebell Court in Millbrae, and I came again this evening to reiterate a request that I made a couple months ago, and that was about we had asked the City Council to consider adopting a policy or a resolution stating its policy in regards to welcoming immigrants, and that either staff or contract staff is not involved in the enforcement of immigration laws. I acknowledge and appreciate the fact that you had the sheriff come and speak on that topic a couple of weeks ago, and that the sheriff's policy on immigration has been posted to the city website. I think those are both important moves. But I'd like to ask again if the council would consider going one step further and actually adopting a policy, either in the form of a policy statement or a resolution. I realize that the staff isn't directly involved in enforcement, but even if it's just a symbolic statement, I think in light of continuing federal policies that are, not friendly to immigrants, that would be important for local agencies such as yourself to adopt a statement affirming that Millbrae is a welcoming city, and that we're not involved in the enforcement of federal immigration laws. The last time I came, I did provide some examples of resolutions that have been adopted by other cities in the area, so it wouldn't be something that would need to start from scratch. There were examples given, and so again, I'm just here to ask one more time if you could take that one extra step and actually adopt something in writing. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Joe. Okay, next on our agenda is the consent calendar. We have 3 items to consider this evening, items 5, 6, and 7. Do we have a motion for the consent calendar? Okay, we have a request to pull item number 5. So this would be for only items 6 and 7. We have a motion from Vice Mayor Pappen and a second from Councilwoman Schneider. Your votes, please.
Consent calendar items 6 and 7 are unanimously approved.
Okay, Ms. Schneider, did you have a comment on item 5 or a request from staff or anything? Okay.
I think that the company has been doing a great job, but the company is from out of town. So in the contract, it stipulates, and it's also said in the proposal from the company that we're also going to pay for long-distance phone calls. I guess that's becoming one of my bugaboos nowadays. I don't see why we're paying for long-distance phone calls. And I brought this up on other contracts. I think this is standard contract language. I know Joan Castman has said, oh, this is kind of standard, but I don't like paying for long-distance phone calls. And if we are going to hire a firm, especially a communications firm of which Trepepi, they do a great job. It's not about the job you're doing, but there are many communication firms. But if we are hiring somebody from far away, I don't like the fact that we're using city dollars to pay for airfare and hotels and things like that. I think that that's something that the consultant should put into their own contract on that. So just because of that language in the contract and because of the travel requirement, I'm voting no on this measure tonight.
Yes. Staff report or okay. All right, sure.
Mayor and council members, it's a little bit easier to address all of you. I can see all of you if I'm standing here. I don't want to just sit down and kind of crane my neck to try to get a view of all of you. I just wanted to let you know, with regard to the comments made regarding long-distance phone call or phone calls, I'd like to assure you that phone conversations that are done, the conference calls are on the 800 conference call numbers, which are free, as you all know, so we're not paying for any long-distance phone conversations or phone calls. And I did look back at the invoices from Trepepi Smith for this current fiscal year through right now. And regarding the travel, we have paid, or the city has paid to date, $374.49 in travel reimbursement for the consultant to come and attend the various meetings that they attend, as they do, and to just be in the city so that from time to time they get to speak with staff, with council, and get a feel and pulse for what's going on, rather than just kind of relying on a weekly conference call and updates through email and just talking to staff via email or on the telephone. So with that, I'm happy to answer any other questions, but I would like to say that having Trepepi Smith come on board this past year has been a tremendous asset for the city. Our engagement and outreach on the city's website and on our social media, we actually have a social media presence now, so I'd like to make that statement. We didn't have much of a social media presence before. They have worked very hard to get our social media presence built up. They have worked with us on our website, on the messaging, the public service announcements. If you look at all of the news items that have been done in the past year, there are many of them. I believe there's over 40 some, and please don't quote me, I could go on the website and count, but there are numerous news articles. All of those have been generated by Trepepi Smith, not to mention all of the talking points or assistance with just different events that we host and getting staff and council prepared for public engagement. So with that, I would like to publicly also thank them, and just if you have any other questions, I will be more than happy to answer them.
I'd just like to add one thing that occurs to me when we're talking about other firms that may be in the vicinity. One of the things that we listened to as staff when the council asked us to improve communications was finding a firm that could assist us that had a specialty in working with small cities. So we did look around, we did talk to our other colleagues, we did talk to other firms, and in fact, what we felt collectively as a management team the best fit was the person that we have working on this assigned to us through a firm, but more specifically out of Sacramento, which didn't occur to the staff was a long-distance commute. To us, that may be a ways. It's out of San Mateo County. I do agree with that. But one of our interests was in finding the best fit for the job, and that's the recommendation that came forward. I just wanted to clarify.
Yes, Councilman Schneider.
So, Ms. Lewis, thank you. I appreciate that. And 374 out of, I think last year's contract was 69,000. Don't quote me on that, but somewhere around there. I mean, obviously it's trivial, and I appreciate that, and I thank you for that. And as I said, I think they're doing a great job. I have a problem with that language in our contracts, and I've brought it up on other contracts. So I'd like to see, if we're no longer paying for long-distance phone calls, why do we still have it in our contracts that we will pay for long-distance phone calls? And if this is such a small amount of travel money, why isn't that, or for this contract or other contracts where it says we will pay for travel, why isn't that built in? But, this is great. I feel much better with this thing. And yes, I don't see Sacramento that far away, but the contract, the company is actually from Irvine in Southern California. So that's what I was wondering, how many plane tickets, how many hotels, and things like that. But thank you.
May I ask what the $374 is for? Is that just mileage to and from Sacramento?
No, go ahead.
It is just the travel reimbursement for the different mileage, the tolls, and that sort of thing. And I believe we were not charged for any airfare in this past agreement cycle. We have not been charged for any of the airfare.
Hotels?
Hotels, no. So it is just strictly for the on-site visits. And, again, it is at the request of the city that we have that our person on site, because it's very vital to having them have their presence here at least once a month. So
yeah, I agree, and I think for that amount, it's so minimal that if they were flying in and out and staying at 5-star hotels each time that they were here, that would be one thing. I agree about the long distance phone calls. I think that's largely obsolete now with everyone having unlimited minutes. Can we just do a strike through on the contract or something, just for peace of mind? I know we're not actually paying for that.
We can do that.
Okay.
The city does have a number of models. So
and can we just take that out for future?
Track down each model and
Okay.
take it out.
Okay. We do have a speaker slip here from Trent Sunahara from Trepepi Smith. And thank you, Trent. I know you're very helpful with the state of the city and with some of our communications regarding the community center outreach, social media, a number of different ways that I think we have greatly improved our communication and outreach and transparency. So yeah, if you'd like a few comments here.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, council members. I can't say enough how much we love working for the city of Millbrae. Serving you, really this account and working for the city has been great. City staff has been great to work with. We've built a number of good relationships with staff and with new staff that have been brought on to really better engage the community, to better educate the community on events that are coming up. It really just makes sure that we have that back and forth communication stream. So just from Trepepi Smith, I'm here to answer any questions you guys have. Just to let you know, for example, Caroline Lee is my partner on this account. We don't charge for those flights or for the hotel stay when she does come up, or when our CEO and President Ryder Smith comes up. It's only really for my time. And even then, it's not time. The time that I spend driving here is integrated into the retainer that we have. So if you ask me to come back and forth twice a week, none of that time is charged extra. It's all integrated into that retainer fee. But like Angela said, we do charge for the mileage and for the tolls, just because those are incurred cost. Do you have any questions for me?
Vice Mayor Pepin?
I do. You're not getting off that easy.
No problem.
Thank you very much. We have seen an increase in the community engagement. That has been key all along to increasing the transparency here. I compliment you on that. What would be helpful to us is in the future, if you do a posting on Facebook or something, if you can report out to us how many likes or how many shares, that kind of thing. Social engagement or social media is, I think, something we need to explore even more so. If we were able to get something like notifications on our phone as to when a new community center meeting would be, those would be great. I don't know how those are done, but any ideas you have on, increasing notifications if people sign up on our website, hey, I want to be notified when this happens. I know the public would love that. I know we as a council would like it because sometimes we miss things or forget things. But that would really help us. I don't know what's out there. I'm just suggesting these things. I do compliment you on what has happened thus far. We look forward to growing this relationship even more so because that is really the key to getting things out there. And there are competing efforts here. We know certain social media has inaccurately represented some of the things that are going on, and particularly the next door area. So we appreciate your help along those lines, and we look forward to an improved and greater relationship. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And so just to answer some of your questions, so we do have a weekly meeting with staff. We do report out on increases in likes, increases of followers, the reach of how many posts, how many people saw or had the opportunity to see those posts. So we can make sure that you see those as well.
Can you summarize for us what social media we are attempting to use here?
Of course. So over the past year, last year, for example, you guys did have a Facebook page and you did have a Twitter page, although the Twitter page was almost completely inactive.
I like it.
And it's tough because for Twitter, it's not as widely used as Facebook, but we have almost doubled, actually more than doubled Facebook users and reach. That's the biggest thing that we're looking for is how many people are seeing the posts that we're putting out. So those numbers have actually, I can tell you right now, so 140%, 146% gain over last year since our efforts have increased. And over the last 12 months, we've put out 87 pieces of content. The year before, it was about 24. So, I mean, we're significantly increasing those numbers, the number of content we're putting out. And it's because of the work with staff. It's because we're trying to educate them on, hey, these are the opportunities that we're looking for. We worked with Public Works and Key to say, okay, this week we're going to have road repairs along Millbrae Avenue. Let's make sure we finish work along Millbrae Avenue. So let's get those pictures out. They send us pictures, we put those up. And that's the stuff that the community really likes and engages with.
What about next door?
So on next door, it's tough. And our recommendation as communication professionals is not to engage in that negative dialogue. I'm not asking you to engage in that.
Yeah, no. Notifications would be helpful.
Okay. So, and we can notify you when we see those things, and we're working with Nextdoor. So Nextdoor has a policy right now is they don't let cities view public comment. They only let cities view the posts that they put out themselves and those posts that are comments. So it's hard for us unless we work with you guys or other members of the community to see what's actually in the public sphere.
And I'm not asking for that.
Yeah.
What I'm asking for is I think what you're doing is that we as a city are posting on Nextdoor so that the public has an opportunity to see what's happening.
Absolutely.
That's all.
Yeah, absolutely we are. And I think a big thing that we're doing also that I would like to note is when there's misinformation, we correct it. That way, yeah, when we're aware of it, correct. Thank you, City Manager.
Thank you.
Very welcome.
Councilwoman Oliva?
So while I could appreciate this social media and all the presence online, which I'm very active in my own business doing that, what I do very often with regards to what Gina's asking for, I think, or maybe a possible solution to the meetings, is you can boost the post, and it gets seen more and more frequently. So I'm wondering if, in fact, now that we have this contract, with that, there are extra costs that are very minimal that we could incur in order to boost posts for like community meetings and such like that.
Correct. So we actually do have a little bit of wiggle room and extra. I believe staff has extra spending allowance for boosters. We have boosted posts in the past, and they've actually been very successful, especially in reaching broader resident audiences who don't necessarily follow us. And then what we've seen is when we do boost posts, and we do it for a minimal amount. We make sure, and that was one thing where, as you know, we want to make sure you guys got the best bang for your buck. So instead of $50, we know that the sweet spot for you is $25 to $30.
So if I'm correct on this, I've been explained a few times, but I might not have 100%. When you make a post on Facebook, it doesn't always hit everybody. It is selective. So if you boost it, council member, then it gets out to more people. And I think that would be advantageous it's like $50 a boost or something like that. And if we had a community meeting for the community center, and you wanted to reach more people, you can, for $100, get a huge bang for your buck.
Man,
Sure,
I just
a
want to
quick
follow up on that.
follow-up.
I might suggest that you send us an email so that when something does, because some of us don't sit on Facebook all day long, rarely get there. But if we know you've posted something, then we can make sure we share it so it gets out to our groups. So if we just get an email saying, please note, the city's trying to get this message out to the public, then I would be happy to share with whomever I know. We can extend things that
I
way.
think it's important for you to realize it's not just Facebook. This is a business page, so it's for the city of Millbrae. So to share with your friends all over the county, all over the state, in Greece, wherever they are, it's
The
not
homeland,
that necessary.
yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is if we can target our page and boost our page for the city of Millbrae, it would be more advantageous for our residents.
And we are doing that. We are doing that.
Thank you.
And final comment, Councilwoman Schneider?
For those of us who are not Facebook users at all, and given our demographics here, it's nice. But what else are we doing to reach out to the community? Is that part of your contract or is that not? And for example, Peninsula Clean Energy, there have been some bumps in the last couple of months, and they have sent out a series of postcards to all, very expensive, but to everybody, because it had to do with their energy bills. So I just don't want to think that the number of tweets, the number of Facebook likes, means something to some of us who just don't spend their time on Facebook. I appreciate what Vice Mayor Pappen said. If you are sending something, if you send me an email, I'll go look. I haven't looked at the city's Facebook page in months, so I apologize for that. Just, I don't have the time. Yeah. My other question is, my understanding is you're more of a social media, but not necessarily, or maybe you are, working with the departments for what kind of report information, real data, should be on the city's website so that we're improving our transparency. For example, I was told, I could find all the recycling information I wanted in the annual SRRE report. Well, I looked all over the website and I couldn't find it. So that kind of data for people like me who tend to be, we like data. So the data-driven people in town. So what are you doing? And if that's not part of your contract, cool. I would still like to see those reports on the website.
Here, you can have mine.
To address that concern, we do have Trepepi work on website. They do the news postings, and they also do post in other areas of the website if we need to have any of the department pages updated. So we do post information mainly in the form of PSA announcements. So we did have some things recently put on the website about the Peninsula Clean Energy. We had news stories that were put out. Any other type of report or information that we put out, like some of the information we're hearing this evening that we want to get out there on cooling stations and homeless outreach in the community, those will go up on the website. Maybe not just as a PSA, but we'll find a home for them on some of the department homepages so that people can go there instead of trying to search through and find an old news story from years ago. So we are working to go through the website. That's part of the work that I am looking at to work with the departments to make sure that the information on the website is up to date and that it is current and that links are working and things like that. So we are working on that, and that we do put some of the reports out. So we may not have everything out there that's been requested, but we are working to add and update. It is a work in process, and as you know, information changes. I mean, it doesn't change always as quickly as we seem to think it does, but it changes enough that we do have to be updating our information, and we are looking at that.
And as a follow-up to that, I don't know if this is under your purview or under staff's purview, but coordination with MCTV on some of these projects as well. For example, these road paving projects, it would be great to have a camera crew to know when these big projects happen, or the water replacement, so that people can see where their tax dollars are going for some of these projects.
And that is something we do work with when I work with Trent and staff. We do pull in MCTV and do ask for them, and we will continue to work with them and do more with them in conjunction with them, because we realize they are here locally and they can be out in the area or on the ground.
Pretty fast, right?
pretty quick and can get us that information. So yes, that is another avenue that we are looking at and we work with.
Okay.
So we wouldn't necessarily be using the photographer that's in your bid document. Okay, I'm happy to hear that too. Thank you.
All right. Well, we have a motion from Vice Mayor Pappen and a second from Councilwoman Oliva. Your votes, please.
The motion to approve the agreement with Trepepe Smith for communication services for the City of Millbrae for fiscal year 17-18 is unanimously approved.
Okay, the next item is item number 8, which is appointments to be considered by the City Selection Committee. And I'm looking at the staff report. Doesn't look like any of these positions are contested. There is one applicant for one seat on LAFCO, an alternate to LAFCO. That would be Half Moon Bay Councilmember Harvey Rarbach. 2 council members to serve on ABAG. One of them is our own Councilmember Wayne Lee. The other is South San Francisco Mayor Pradeep Gupta, and that's for 2 seats. And then there are 2 seats for alternates to ABAG. One from Councilmember Carlos Romero of East Palo Alto. Second appears to be vacant at this time. So given that there is nothing contested, nothing really to discuss, can we just make a motion or just by consensus? So I've done this in the past. Okay, well, let's just vote. So we have, so I guess this is to just nominate those, to vote for those who have put in nominations. A motion by Vice Mayor Pappen and a second from Councilwoman Oliva. Your votes, please.
The council has unanimously voted to approve the appointment of those members who have submitted letters of interest for the various positions available at the next City Selection Committee meeting.
Okay, very good, and I will be there this Friday to make the vote. And the next item number 9, is a resolution to receive and approve the Green Infrastructure Work Plan in accordance with the municipal regional permit requirements. And I believe we have our city engineer, Key Lim, here to give the report.
Good evening, Mayor Harbour, Vice Mayor Pappen, and members of the City Council. I am Key Lim, City Engineer. Tonight, we're going to be talking to you about Green Infrastructure Work Plan. So we're going to be talking to you what is a Green Infrastructure Work Plan and why are we putting together a Green Infrastructure Work Plan. And lastly, we want to talk to you about how we are going to implement the work plan and the timeline about implementation of the work plan. And with that, we have our Catherine Sheehan's here, them working with us on the GI work plan, and she's also been helping us with a lot of the MRP CCAC meetings. So with that, I'm going to turn that over to Ms. Sheehan.
So as Key mentioned, we're here to talk about the Green Infrastructure Work Plan. So the Regional Water Quality Control Board issues a permit to 76 municipalities, one of which is the city of Millbrae, and they have requirements to reduce and manage pollutants to the storm drain system. And they recently reissued the permit. It was put into effect on January 1st, 2016. It included new green infrastructure planning requirements, and those are intended to, over time, reduce the impacts of impervious surfaces and the impacts that they have on pollutants to the storm drain system through the implementation of green infrastructure planning measures. So the Green Infrastructure Work Plan is basically a document that summarizes the tasks necessary to develop a green infrastructure plan to comply with the municipal regional permit requirements by September 2019. And then that plan will identify activities that are necessary to meet certain deadlines. So the The water board connected green infrastructure to reduction of 2 specific pollutants to the San Francisco Bay, one of which is polychlorinated biphenyls, which was prevalent in the 1970s and then was banned in 1979 due to its cancer-causing properties. Also, mercury. PCBs and mercury are prevalent and airborne. They get attached to sediment particles, which travel through our roadways and then get lodged into our storm drain system. The storm drain system directs all that water directly to the San Francisco Bay and our local creeks. And mercury, as you probably know, can collect in fish and have, cause problems with babies. And so anyway, the green infrastructure is known to reduce pollutants. It treats them out of the stormwater system through some examples of green infrastructure are rain gardens, bioretention areas, permeable pavers, infiltration systems. They basically use media or plants to take those pollutants like PCBs or mercury and take them out of the stormwater system. It also has the impact of reducing trash. Green infrastructure can reduce flooding, reduce the heat island effect, and help improve the look of a community. And also have studies that show that green infrastructure can improve property values because it kind of gives you a placemaking benefit. So with that, I guess I'll turn it over to questions about green infrastructure or the green infrastructure work plan.
Great. Councilwoman Schneider?
I have several. I'm very excited. This is great. This is a long time in coming. I think this is fantastic. So I can't wait to have this get implemented. But question number 1, storing the report, the staff report, and the work plan talk about storing treated stormwater. Have we thought about, is this going to include a storage facility? Because if we're going to dig a hole in the ground down by the BART station, that seems to be an opportunity to create a storage container for treated stormwater.
So storing of water,
you can tell me no. If instead we're going to do it all by going down into the soil and doing it that way, then I just need to know one way or the other. When I was reading this, I said, if we're ever going to try to store this, this is the time to think about it.
So the goal of green infrastructure in the way that the board kind of presents it is that they want to have micro measures implemented at various locations in the city. So you will have some places where water will be stored at different points, but not necessarily a massive underground storage facility, though an underground storage facility is a green infrastructure measure, especially if it infiltrates the water into the ground and recharges the groundwater aquifer. But storage in and of itself, like if you had a tank with no infiltration, that doesn't necessarily treat the water. It just detains it for a later time, and then it would be released.
Yeah, I just want to not lose check that if we ever do approve anything down around the BART station, that might be our one opportunity on there.
And new development projects already have to incorporate green infrastructure measures. Any development that exceeds 10,000 square feet of impervious surface that's created or replaced. And so this is just an extension of that policy that's already, those requirements have been in effect since about 2009.
And that leads me to my second question.
Okay.
It already came up under goal setting, and that was with the new work being done on Millbrae Avenue, which was grant funded. It seemed to have been an opportunity that we could have put some bioswales in or some bump out plantings on the corners there. But I guess we missed that train. And how can we make sure that we don't miss any more?
That is correct. On the Millbrae Avenue paving project, unfortunately, we are limited to real estate. We cannot increase any more footprints on our street. There is no way that we could include in the green strip there for filtration purposes. So therefore, that was an exempt project. But with the work plan in place that the council will be adopting tonight, all the infrastructure project in the future, we will take that into consideration wherever it is possible and feasible.
So to bring up what Vice Mayor Pappen brought up with the PG&E removing the pine trees and Richmond Drive with the really old design, and it's hot. I live near there. It's hot. It's barren. It's within a half a mile of a school, so it could qualify for that joint storm drain bicycle pedestrian grant. That might be one place that we could try to do something there and get something exciting to a community that has an awful lot of asphalt.
I need to study the application a little bit more. I don't have an answer for you right now, but we can definitely report back to the city manager's office.
Great, thank you. Hold on, I'm just trying to learn how to take my notes electronically here. It takes longer than if I handwrite. Litter and cigarette butts, you talked about how this would help reduce litter. Yes, you can have retention basins, but unless we do use our existing ordinance and enforce it, how would any of these programs reduce litter?
So the green infrastructure measures literally intercept the water that comes down the street, and so the water collects trash, and as it does, it'll collect inside the bioretention. Those get cleaned out, and so it has
an end-of-pipe solution, not a source reduction solution.
Right.
Would this program include any source reduction activities?
The source reduction trash control measures is covered under a different provision in the permit. This one falls under provision C3, trash is under provision C10, and the board does require source control measures to be in place for trash reduction activities.
Okay, and that permit's coming up next year? And we're at
the
about
permit
70%?
is already in place.
Oh, it's in place?
Yes.
And we're at about 70%?
Trash reduction? Keys, best person.
I just want you to know that some of us are paying attention to this, and it deals directly with the cigarette butts and the amount of, we're so windy. If you put something in the garbage can, it can get picked up and blown anywhere.
I really appreciate that. Yes, we do have one trash capture device installed in our city at the Landing Lane neighborhood. And we are actually going to be installing a second one by Highlight Canal behind Bart Station. And once we reach that, we will be over 70% achievement by the permit.
Okay, so we still have that 30% to go.
We are supposed to achieve a 70% trash reduction by July 1st of 2017. We are very close to it right now. We're at a 69+%.
Very good, and good to staff. My last question, if we haven't had a tree study done in Millbrae since 1992, the trees have been through several droughts and then wet weather, and we're already finding, as reported, trees are sick. If we have to remove some of the median trees, and I'll use the Highlands neighborhood that has a lot of sycamores in the median strip, so city trees, a lot of them are in bad shape. If they have to be removed, is there a chance of implementing bioswales at that point and or other kinds of trees that might be better for uptake of nutrients? I don't know. I'll wait for you to come out with that. But if we do that, is that going to come down on the homeowner to have to pay for that cost? Like currently right now, if one of these trees breaks the curb or breaks the gutter, the homeowner has to pay for that repair. But if we're going to remove these dying trees and we're going to put in some of this green infrastructure, who's going to pay for it?
Does that have anything to do with what we're voting on?
It's the green infrastructure plan, yeah. It's who's going to fund and who's going to be held accountable.
For that, I don't have the answer for you right now. We are working on updating the street tree ordinance with a back risk manager that assigned to our city. And we would likely, if we're going to look at citywide tree replacement project, we're going to have to put a CIP budget request in there and look at the scale and how much we can afford to do so. And bioswale, green infrastructure, those are definitely features that we can introduce into the project. So that would be something that we're going to have to do some research and get back to you also.
Great. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Okay. Vice Mayor Pappen.
Thank you. I do want to alert you, in case you are unaware, that CCAG has certain monies for these bioswales. Am I saying that right?
Bioswale.
Bioswales is correct.
Bioswale?
Or bioretention.
All that stuff. Let's just say all that stuff. And I do know Burlingame got some money for some of that, and I would love to see this throughout the city. And I particularly want PG&E paying for the one on Richmond Drive. And whatever goes in there. I'm so angry about that one. You mentioned rain gardens, yet they're not in the report.
Rain garden and bioretention is an equivalent term. Rain garden is sort of a term that's used more for homeowners to make it make sense what a bioretention is.
Well, as far as I've been notified, city staff is trying to work on something out here as far as the landscaping. Is that not true?
That is true, but that will be more of a zero landscaping, something that will use a very minimum water, and it is a non-invasive species type of planting material that we'll be using. So in case we have a second drought coming up in the next several years, we don't have to worry about watering the lawn like in the last several years.
Well, I would encourage that this be a part of whatever we can, too. because it would be helpful to see some of this throughout the city. And if we can get money from CCAGs, that would be great. You've also mentioned, I guess, the source items that are coming in here. I'm not sure if there's money left in the downtown enhancement thing here, but we do need to get the littering ordinance posted and the fees for littering. I think that's going to send a very important message to people that, you know, if you drop that cigarette butt, this is what it's going to cost you. And we have talked too also about multilingual. Whatever qualifies for the city ballots is a significant marker in what type of languages we need to include in that. So hopefully that would help in reducing the source that's going down to our pipes here. So I hope that we can do that. And you mentioned a green strip on Millbrae Avenue. There's really not much green there presently. Would there be a way, the center strip, I will, in case you weren't here, notify you that the palm trees were donated from the hotel. We moved them from the Westin, and the transportation costs for taking them from the Westin and putting them in the center divide there were donations. So we are very thankful for the people that donated there. So I think the public might also be interested, if we are, particularly since we're working on Millbrae Avenue, maybe some of the businesses would be interested in maybe adopting that center median so we could get it in better looking shape and possibly incorporating some of these features into that. So be a suggestion and be happy to help if you wanted to try something like that.
That is definitely something that staff can look at when we further review the TOD project. That could be some sort of beautification project for the city. And also one thing that not many people know about that, those are pavers in the medians on Millbrae Avenue. Those are actually pervious paver. They are set on sand and they allow rainwater to percolate into the ground.
Looks like not much gets into that ground there.
Or
but if you say so, that's fine.
Or at least this was designed with the intention.
Oh, okay, great. But I do think we have a golden opportunity, especially with the businesses in that area, to improving that. So I'd be happy to assist. Thank you.
I definitely think so. I don't want to speak something that I don't know, but that will be something that will be gladly discussed with the city manager, prioritize what we need to do.
Okay. Well, we have a motion from Vice Mayor Pappen and a second from Councilwoman Oliva. Your votes, please.
The council has unanimously approved the Green Infrastructure Work Plan in accordance with the municipal regional permit requirements.
All right. On to the finale of our agenda, council comments. Let's start with Councilwoman Oliva.
Okay, I'll mention three things. I spent some time with the Senior Advisory Committee and just out to the public. The couches and the mattresses that we're seeing in front of the lawns got to go. So if you want to even call me, I'll take the call. There's one on right now on Richmond and Lincoln. And the seniors, you know, they can't really pick up the couches in front of their lawn. It's a little bit heavy on their back. So with regard to that, of course, the city's going to help us out and take care of that. But let's keep our city clean. We're talking about everything downtown and the green routes, and you know, let's take care of our own yards as well. Secondly, I'm going to be leaving to represent the city in Japan for Hanu for the Friendship Committee, and I'm looking forward to that. I'll be headed on the 7th, and my son will be accompanying me, and my nephew and my daughter now. So they're all going to participate with that. Past Mayor Robert Gottschalk will be with us as well. And Kathleen Kimura will not be able to make it because she injured her arm, but her husband's going to come in her place. I believe we have 10 children that are coming, and I'll be anxious to report back with the great time that I do have. And I'm sure that our mayor is going to say something about why we're missing one of our compadres there on the end, so I'll leave that for you. Thank you.
Councilwoman Schneider?
I attended Peninsula Clean Energy last week for Councilman Lee. There have been some billing changes, hence the number of postcards going out. And if you are a resident, if you haven't received that, but they are trying to help you with your bills if you're having problems with that. There have been some bumps with PG&E there. Millbrae Cultural Arts has actually been meeting. They've got subcommittees working on various projects and research, as was reported earlier tonight. So congratulations for Cultural Arts coming off and with a lot of hopes of enhancing all over the community, of finding opportunities for art all over the community. For my last one here. The mayor filled in for Councilman Lee at interviews for committee and commission members. Thank you to everybody who applied and for the first group that we've interviewed. And we are still holding a second set of interviews, so we're holding some slots open and filling. Some slots will be recommended at the next council meeting or the following one. But thank you very much. We had a really great, over 30 applicants, so thank you to the people of Millbrae.
Okay, Vice Mayor Pappen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to suggest to the Arts Committee that they try to propose something to the City Council that if a piece of land is developed, something like the El Rancho, and there is art there, that it is offered to the city before it is demolished or destroyed. It might be a nice idea so that we maintain art here. I did attend the firefighters fundraiser, Pancake Breakfast. It was a huge success, and the money goes to the burn victims. So I compliment them. It's been multiple years. They were also showing off their brand new fire truck. Very proud of that. My compliments again to the Park and Recreation Committee for their suggestion on the new placement of the gazebo. And talking to city staff, this will be done in a way that it is accessible for all. So there will take some preparation in the new location, and hopefully it'll be someplace where, as the mayor suggested, we might be having concerts or weddings or something. It is absolutely a beautiful setting. And I think that is it. Thank you, sir.
Okay, I attended the commute.org board meeting a couple weeks ago, and one item that came up that's sort of been lingering for that committee is they are losing their longtime fiscal agent, the city of Daly City, and looking for another city to step up. I know the city of Millbrae is, I believe, one of only 2 member cities that have even responded. And that's my understanding staff has discussed with them, and it's something that we are considering potentially, but something that would need to move forward in the next couple months. Did you have a comment on that? Or okay, all right. Also, I spoke with the recreation. With Alan Shear from Recreation regarding an event. I don't know if we have anything confirmed that can be announced yet, but we are looking at some type of event coming up soon on July 21st to commemorate the 1-year anniversary of the community center fire. We discussed maybe having a breakfast in the morning, or but nothing I don't think has been confirmed yet with city staff. But keep your eye on an announcement for something very soon for July 21st. And then just in closing, Councilmember Lee's father, Arnold Lee, passed away last week. He was a longtime, very active in many community groups in San Francisco and Chinatown, the Lee Benevolent Association, also a U.S. Army veteran. So, our thoughts and prayers are with Councilman Lee and his family through this difficult time. And we would like to close in memory of Arnold Lee, Millbrae resident and father of Councilman Lee. So with that being said, meeting is adjourned. Good evening, everyone.
You're watching MCTV, Millbrae Community Television, Comcast Channel 27, AT&T UVerse Channel 99, and streaming live at www.mctv.tv.